What's up, guys? It is 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time here in Los Angeles. And at 9:10 is the plan. I'll have a guest for you guys. So in less than 10 minutes, we should be having a guest named Brenton Lengel. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Of Modern Day Debate, Infamy, or Fame. Take your pick. Remember I appeared on Modern Day Debate towards the end of August about the Black Lives Matter. Is Black Lives Matter a net positive or negative? And I debated, if you want to call it that, Brenton Lengel. Anyway, guys, it is 9:02 a.m. now. It's Wednesday, October 6th, 2021 AD, the year of our Lord. And I have a beautiful song to share with you. You know how I like to play some music from throwback days? Well, not that throwback, 15 years ago. This is from 2005 album by OK, also known as Marty Anderson, who I believe he had a crazy form of Crohn's disease. And that's why his voice, I think, sounds a little like weak or something. But his album from 2005, High Road, Part 2. Last week I played Low Road, Part 1. And this track is entitled Mind, I do believe. It's the 7th track on this album. Enjoy Mind by OK. And we'll get started with the show, guys. Cover your ears. Press mute. Grin and bear it, you musical Philistines. Here it is. So good.
Nothing that's in your way is useless.
Hey.
Useless.
Isn't that nice?
Nothing that's in your way is useless.
Saying hallelujah. Better than Beyonce, at least. Saying you gotta see your own mind. Gotta free your own mind. Malkuth. Not better than Beyonce. What the? Modern church music. Mute button deployed. I really like it. Hake, this doesn't sound like heavy metal. This sounds like anti-smoking ad. An anti-smoking ad. Yeah, he does sound like a smoker too. Well, anyway, guys, I enjoyed it, even if you guys did not. I think some of you guys liked it. But let's get right on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how are you guys doing? I am fine. Are you pumped about the upcoming guest who should be here in the next few minutes here, hopefully? I know I am. Dr. ADD says, hail. Oh my gosh, autocorrect. I hate you. Well, he doesn't say I hate you. I'm just cleaning it up. Hail, yeah. When I used to type my last name, Hake, it would autocorrect to Hale, H-A-L-E. What even word is that? Lin Yan Shin says, Hake, much like a joke, if you have to explain lyrics, those lyrics were a mess that never deserved to be expressed. Whatever, I disagree. Malkuth also says, you know the music is garbage when you have to explain what they are saying. This is no different from rap. Well, he says no different than, but it's not no different than. It's no different from. It's different from or different to, not different than. I will, just a quick lesson. It sounds like poor animals suffering. DJ On Pa calls it repetitive demon chanting. You know, I can't say that you're wrong. Daisy1356 says this is depression. Well, I don't know. I think that he went through some suffering, that Marty Anderson guy. And when you go through some suffering, you may realize some things, even if you don't find like the whole truth. People will get kind of deep. I liked how he said nothing that's in your way is, I forgot what doesn't matter or something like that. Nothing that's in your way. Reminds me of what JLP says, that everything that you go through, the worst stuff that happens to you is some of the best stuff for you. Because you get better through it. That's what I get out of it. I don't know if he's a Christian. Somebody said, is he Jewish? That would explain his ugly music. Wow. Seems harsh. But it is on Absolutely Kosher Records, which was a record label over there in what would you call it? Berkeley, California. May as well be Oakland, California, where Antifa is, and Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Oakland. Just the worst people. BB42 Great James, the grammar Nazi, Hake. So anyway, I should be connecting with the guest Brenton Lengel soon. I will be getting to calls. You can call in and talk with Brenton if we connect here, which hopefully we will. I heard that there was an active shooter report over in Texas, in Arlington, Texas. Timberview High School, Texas High School. That singer was no Sergio Music Boy, says fan of the ladies. Nice. The real Hydro PX says the Jews make the best Christmas songs. Very nice. Yeah. Crazy stuff going on. I wanted to talk about, and I may talk to Brenton about this if he knows about this, but there are these anti-CRT protests going on. The Justice Department, so-called Justice Department, a total misnomer, and then I will get to my guest, I believe, is addressing violent threats against school officials and teachers, if you believe that. Justice.gov press release. You may have heard about that. It was from Merrick Garland. That was Obama. No, ni uno más deportación. I'm mocking that transgender illegal who said to Obama, and Obama's on, no. You're in my house. That was during the thing. Left. This way?
Oh, sorry. Right. Left on my screen.
Okay. How about that? Nice.
For the side-by-side shot.
Sweet. Is that better? All right.
It looks great.
I'm just getting myself positioned here, guys. And so Merrick Garland was the Obama Supreme Court justice pick. We stonewalled him. We rhinos, Mitch McConnell and all them, stonewalled him. And now he's the DOJ, the head of the DOJ, the Attorney General, the top cop in the United States. And he's going after the anti-CRT parents. Do you believe that there are violent threats against local school officials and teachers? Honestly, I don't think I would doubt it. But like, what about the threats against the children? Because that is a threat against the children. So anyway, guys, let me introduce Brenton Lengel. He is here with me, back on the line. What's up, Brenton?
Hey,
Hey.
happy to be back. It's been about a month since our debate, which I really enjoyed. And I've been pretty busy, but I made some time to come on here and talk to you.
I appreciate you doing that. Guys, Brenton Lengel, Lengel, and that's his Twitter handle, by the way. Brenton, Brenton, is a playwright, a Ringo Award-nominated comic creator, an Appalachian Trail 2,000 miler.
Yep.
Which means you hiked the Appalachian Trail for 2,000 miles or what?
Yep. Maine to Georgia.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah. I also wrote the first play ever about it, which is called North to Maine. It's played twice in New York, got great reviews, and is sponsored by the Appalachian Trail Conservancy.
Wow, that's cool. Congratulations. So
Thanks. Yeah, one of the better things I did in my life.
So coming on, doing YouTube stuff and appearing on Modern Day Debate is just basically a hobby for you then.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, it's a hobby. It's odd, and we'll kind of get into this. It's also somewhat of a religious duty for me, but yeah, mostly a hobby. I really love arguments. I love to talk to people about important things that folks are passionate about, and kind of dissect them, and give my own perspective on the world.
Yeah. One thing I really appreciated about our debate on Modern Day Debate, it was like August 26th. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
It was in
About a
late
month
August.
ago.
We talked about, has Black Lives Matter done more harm than good? And when I presented my arguments, one thing I appreciated about you was that you really tried to understand and kind of restate my arguments and understand where I was coming from with them. And I appreciated it. That was cool.
Yeah, that's really important to me. I really feel like debate too often, especially online, gets pulled into this space of like, I just want to win and own the other person. And the problem is when that happens, it's really entertaining for a lot of people, but no.
Oh, he cut out. He cut out there. Hang tight, guys. What? It's really entertaining for some people, but what? Because you cut out there.
Oh, nobody learns anything.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and I really feel like debate isn't just about, it's not just a spectator sport. I think it can, there's a level that it can elevate to where it can connect people and where people can get if not new ideas, but just a better understanding of our fellow complicated humans.
Were you raised a Christian?
Me? Yeah. I was raised Catholic.
Oh, okay. And so are you a Catholic to this day at all in any sense?
Oh, no, definitely not. No, I've lapsed. Though it's funny. I'm working on, I currently have a Kickstarter running for my series about anarchist Buenaventura Durruti, which is what this background is from. And there's some underlying spiritual things going on in the comic and in the movie that I wrote. And when I was like summing it up.
Oh, he cut out again. Hang on. You cut out there when you were summing it. When you were summing it up, what?
When I was summing it up for my artist in the script I was sending him, I was talking a little bit about some of the underlying spiritual points, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, did I lapse so hard I became a Catholic again?
Oh,
so yeah, it's interesting just because my headspace is back in like Spain in the 1930s now because of the series. Did
you turn into an atheist? A lot of my atheist friends were what they called recovering Catholics.
Mm-hmm. I was an atheist for a short period in New York, like I think 20 2012 to 2014-ish. I was influenced by the New Atheist movement and Christopher Hitchens, hence one of the reasons I like debate. But I eventually, in around 2014, I was beginning to find an end in that philosophy. Like it wasn't working for me. And then there was a day I suddenly found I had my faith again. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is happening. Got to find something to do with it. Not going to be a Christian. And so I became a practicing Buddhist with Soka Gakkai International.
And so a Buddhist can be anything. A Buddhist can be an atheist or believe in God. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. Buddhism is a very compatible. So like from a Buddhist perspective, you can be a Christian and a Buddhist, or a Buddhist and an atheist, or a Buddhist and a Hindu. It's what's in the West, religion tends to be about right thought, in that you have the right ideas, the right metaphysical assumptions about the world. Whereas in the East, and particularly with Buddhism and my sect, it's less about what you think and more about right practice. You can have the complete wrong ideas about the world, but if you do the practice, like that's what's important spiritually, and you will develop from there.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I think we need both. I think we definitely need both.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't disagree with you. I think though, and this kind of got into we got into this in our debate. I'm sort of a big believer with the existentialists that existence precedes essence. So what happens in physical reality tends to have a much more impactful, I guess, it impacts the world to a slightly greater degree than what happens in mental reality. Now, interestingly enough, the philosophy comes back around, and in Buddhism, we would say that the physical and the mental actually aren't different. They just appear to be. So in a long, drawn-out way, I think you're right. I think they're both important.
Interesting. So how then, so that was during your atheist days, because I remember the Occupy Wall Street movement. Mm-hmm. Occupy Wall Street. And I considered them to be like the scum of the earth. It was like it was a reaction, in my opinion, but maybe not, to the Tea Party thing that took place after Obama started doing the bailouts and stuff. And so you participated in that. Mm-hmm. Where? Yeah. In Wall Street or in Oakland or where?
Yeah, Zuccotti Park, New York. Okay. I was there starting about, I think, 2-3 weeks in. It was right after a bunch of my friends got arrested on the Brooklyn Bridge.
2011, 2010? What was it?
That would have been 2011. Okay. That would have been, yeah. And Occupy, it's really funny that you kind of put us out as a reaction to the Tea Party movement. Because first off, we had a ton of Tea Party people at Occupy. Like there was a whole right libertarian, like American capital L libertarian contingent at Occupy that I frequently argued with, but I still have friends from. I know the Democrats really, and the liberal media for a while really wanted us to be the Democrat version of the Tea Party, but we told them to take a hike. And Occupy really formed in reaction to the fact that, the banks had crashed our economy and no one went to jail. Yeah. Every single one of the people that did that got away with it scot-free, except for I think one guy, because he like an idiot, he pled guilty to the crimes he'd actually done and served some time for it. But I mean, that was really what Occupy was about, a lot of stuff. But, on the ground, that was really like the major catalyzing thing for us, was that these people had destroyed our economy, cost, lives and jobs and houses, and they got away with a slap on the wrist. It was, and even not a slap on the wrist, sometimes they benefited from it. A lot of them really did. I mean, what was it? Lloyd Blankfein became Obama's financial advisor, and Goldman Sachs was huge involved in the actual problem that had led to the crash of 2008. So yeah, I think Occupy in a lot of ways was definitely not an attempt at making a Democrat version of the Tea Party. But what's odd is that if we had not told the Democrats to take a hike, we might still be around. Right. Because, they destroyed us after that.
Interesting. I remember they would say that we are the 99%, and it was the semi-well-to-do and the so-called poor versus the ultra-rich.
Mhm.
although it seemed to be kind of selective about who they really went after. I mean, at least in my perception.
Mhm. Well,
But
I mean, it depends.
don't you have to blame the people for electing these corrupt people and participating in a corrupt culture that brought
You
about
know,
these people at the top who were corrupt?
to some extent, yes, but also, and I pointed this out actually when I put out a video just before the election before before the election of Biden. And I said, because there was a lot of stuff going around about the morality of voting, and there were a lot of people on the left trying to shame people into voting who didn't want to vote for Biden into voting for Biden. And saying it was immoral to vote for Donald Trump or to not vote for Biden. I don't really think moral accountability can really be assigned if what that person has done would not have had a different outcome. So, like, for instance, the classic example of this is you're driving a car, and unknown to you, someone has cut your brakes, and you're coming up to a stop sign, and, like a kid runs out in front of you, and you slam on the brakes, but nothing happens, and you hit the kid. Are you responsible for hitting that kid? No. The person who cut your brakes is responsible for hitting that kid. The way you acted in that situation had no effect on the outcome, and therefore you have no moral accountability. And the thing is like in a national election, it doesn't matter who pretty much anybody votes for. Like, I live in New York. So like if I vote the first time around with like Hillary Clinton versus Trump, I voted for the only way that my vote would count is I voted for Gary Johnson. Did I like Gary Johnson? No, but I hated the two-party system more. And the fact is that no matter what I did or how I voted, the New York was always going to be blue. So, and 100% of the electoral votes would go to, Hillary Clinton. So do the voters actually have a say? No, we really don't. And we have sort of an illusion in a big national election like that. Now, It gets a little different when you get down to local politics, because the more your vote matters, the more moral accountability you have. But yeah, I mean, I really don't think that the American democracy is a real democracy. There are so many checks and balances on it that seem to be that we've been told are for our own good, but I don't really believe that at this point. I think it's more for the good of the people that are in charge, and I would prefer the power to actually be in the hands of everyday ordinary Americans as much as possible.
Last question about the Occupy stuff. I remember having this impression that they were pretty degenerate. They would leave. The mainstream media would say, at least Fox News said, that you guys would leave trash everywhere, and that there were rapes and stuff like that. In your atheist days in the Occupy movement, did you pick up after yourself?
Absolutely. It was really funny too. So first off, I won't say that bad stuff didn't happen at Occupy, because it was a subset of the world, and bad stuff happens in the world. But you got to understand, first off, the park was clean. In fact, we had a working group dedicated to keeping the park clean. And I had just run a fundraiser at the Yippee Museum in New York to raise money and to buy supplies to keep the park clean, like the day before Bloomberg raided Zuccotti Park. And, you remember when Bloomberg sent his stormtroopers out, they did it in the middle of the night. They dispatched police helicopters
to
prevent
prevent
coverage
camping
from
out
the air.
Overnight.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, but there were people there. I had an apartment. But there were a lot of people camping out there. And, under the pretext of supposedly cleaning the park. But this was a lie. There's a bunch of hippies there. Hippies are sometimes dirty. But the idea that we were degenerates, and I want to drill into that. I want to know what you mean by degenerate. I think it's ridiculous. And also, a lot of the time, the cops were sending actual infiltrators down there to cause problems.
I can believe that.
There were a number of NYPD police officers who would find drunk people or heroin addicts and stuff and send them to Zuccotti so that they would later have the excuse to attack.
Yeah, I could believe that. It's basically, in my opinion, evil people fighting evil people, because Bloomberg is no good, nor are the leadership
Bloomberg's definitely not.
Yeah. What are you? Are you Italian? What are you? That you were raised Catholic and all that? Yeah.
Oh, I am about the whitest person you will ever encounter. Like my family were peasants in the Carpathian Mountains. And like I
Where's
was
that? Where's
the
Carpathian
Carpathian
Mountains?
Mountains.
Uh-huh.
It's between like Poland and Russia, kind of on the border near the Caucasus. I think I was born in Italy to as a Navy brat actually, and raised in like Pennsylvania and Virginia and Kentucky. You know, moved
Okay.
around a lot as a kid. Yeah, so like I guess my background is Eastern European. I'm basically a Dracula. But
Okay.
like culturally,
I can see that.
I'm very much a mix. It's a very American story.
Why the long hair? Are you into metal, or what does it have? What is it?
I mean, I've always loved long hair. I think it looks cool. I grew my hair long when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and that symbolized a major change in my life.
When was
and
it
I
that
haven't
you did that?
yet experienced a life-changing event like the Appalachian Trail. So, I've kept it going.
When did you hike that?
That was 2008, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did the first 600 miles, Gatlinburg, Tennessee to Waynesboro, Virginia, just as I was finishing college. Then like 2006. Then I went back, I finished college, I worked for 2 years, had a personal tragedy, and did the remaining, 1,800 miles, starting May to November 2008, just before I moved to New York.
What did your parents think about you turning atheist and then Buddhist?
I mean, my mom, so I was raised to be a little heathen, I remember when I was a kid, my mom read me the story of Abraham and Isaac and was horrified by it.
You were.
And
you were horrified by Abraham being told
no,
to
my
kill
mom
Isaac.
was horrified by
Oh,
it.
she
The
was.
idea,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
this is, and if you think about it, that's a terrible thing to do to a parent. I'm a parent, and the idea of somebody commanding me to kill my kid is it's absolutely horrifying. So, I spent time, I was raised Catholic, but I was also taught to think for myself. I think my parents were less inclined to me being an atheist. They've been more supportive of me being a Buddhist, because they can see that I'm a lot happier than I was as an atheist. I think, overall, they've been very supportive of me just finding my own way.
Okay. Your father was in the home too when you were growing up? They were
Oh,
married?
yeah. Yeah, they're still married and everything.
I forgot that you're married. I don't know if I knew that you were a father.
Yeah, I'm married. I have a 3-year-old son.
Okay. And you married since being a Buddhist or since being an atheist?
I mean, I married, I was a Buddhist at the time I married.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
A white or an Asian or what? Just out of curiosity, you don't have to say if you don't
It's
want
a very weird question, but my wife is white.
Okay.
I don't know how that's relevant, but yeah.
to. I mean, it's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's people's interactions. Yeah, and you grew up in New York area?
No.
You said where you grew up. You grew up all over.
Yeah, I grew up all over. I really like, Italy to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania to Virginia, Virginia to Kentucky, Kentucky to Ohio, Ohio to Kentucky again. Then I hiked the Appalachian Trail in Maine to Georgia, and moved to Harlem in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, on to what's going on today.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the vaccine mandates? There's a big
push for the
over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think overall people should get the vaccine. I think that it's proven effective. And it matters a lot to me because my wife is immunocompromised. And like, if she gets COVID, she could die and my son could lose his mother. And she's vaccinated as well, but it doesn't work as well on immunocompromised people. So, that's really, really important to me. That said, I don't like the idea of mandates. One, I'm an anarchist, so I oppose the state. But on top of that, like, I don't like the idea of mandates because, like, okay, if we could mandate that people get the vaccine, and we know that it would help them, that would be one thing. But actually implementing that and putting state power behind it, one, it's going to scare people and make them think that, oh, there's definitely something awful in these vaccines if they're forcing us to get it.
Yeah.
And two, I don't trust the state to actually administer that like fairly. Instead, I see them using it kind of like how the cops used their lies about the park being dirty. I see them using that for their own ends, to perpetuate their own power and to abuse who they want to abuse. So as much as I think that you absolutely should get the vaccine, it should not be forced. It should be incentivized in a positive way, as opposed to, some sort of legal mandate.
In 2016, you said you voted for Gary Johnson over there in New York. In 2020, whom did you vote for, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, I voted for Biden.
Okay.
I did a debate about this, but and in my video, I have a deep hatred for Donald Trump. Even before he was a political figure, but you ever see a movie where a cat sees a vampire and hisses at it? That is how I react. Donald Trump is the vampire. I'm the cat.
So you've felt that way ever since even Home Alone 2 when he made that cameo appearance.
I have thought he is a absolutely vapid, effete idiot who has no business doing anything in our society, let alone, commanding our military and police. I think it was one of the most disheartening things that I ever saw in the entire history of our country. And when I was young, I used to be a Republican. Up until, the disaster of the Iraq War, I was really, really behind, traditional conservative Republican values.
Your parents,
and I think, yeah.
Okay.
My dad, big time Republican. But the thing is that I think even I went back and I thought of myself when I was 18 and I was really into the GOP and thinking I might be part of the young GOP. And I thought, would I have liked Donald Trump back then? And I think, no, I think I would have thought he was an absolute idiot.
Interesting.
And in fact, yeah.
You, as now you're a Buddhist though, and you believe in God, you're not supposed to be hating Donald Trump. Right? That's not loving kindness. I heard that Buddhists are into loving kindness.
We are. And so when I talk about hating, I'm talking about a visceral emotional reaction.
And you don't think you can help it?
Well, to a certain extent, so the way Buddhism thinks of emotion is in the way that a lake reflects a bird passing over. The lake reflects the bird and then it lets it go when it's time, when the bird has moved on. It doesn't hold on to it. It doesn't get stuck on it or hung up on it. So when we talk about emotions, oftentimes I think of emotions in the sense of a storm. A storm comes, you experience it, this is a storm, and then it leaves, and you're still here. So it's emotions are like hatred, love, it's changes in the weather.
So your emotions have not, towards Donald Trump specifically, have not really changed over time.
No. I mean, now that he's not president, not causing problems as much anymore, I'm not as angry with him as I used to be. I have a lot of compassion for him as well at times, because I imagine being him, and the thought of being in his head is actually kind of terrifying to me. So I'm yeah. So there's this part of you that wants to punish someone for doing evil as you see it, but then also you kind of realize that to be them is kind of punishment enough almost.
I felt that his presidency was so refreshing. When he came on the scene, he told the truth in a way. He was kind of an affront to the establishment in a lot of ways. He told the truth that was, they would try to shame him and accuse him of lying when he said things that were true, and he stood by it. And that was so refreshing. And he expressed goodwill towards everybody, including the illegals that he wants to deport. He's just a man of love and humility that
I mean,
was,
I don't think you can possibly characterize Donald Trump as a man of humility. Like
Why
the dude
not?
lives in a freaking golden palace in New York. There's nothing humble about that.
but he knows how to
Um,
market himself.
He
But
does. I'll give him that. That's one of his absolute talents. He's also very charismatic. You can tell, like when you listen to his speeches and stuff, and when you watch the way he talks to people.
Do you think he-
that
do you think he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean what he says when he says the controversial things, let's say?
I would say Donald Trump says whatever he thinks people want to hear and will get him the most love and adoration in the moment.
But
I don't
he's
think
better
he
at
has
that
any-
than politicians. I think politicians try to
Well,
do
yeah.
that, right? But he's actually comes off genuine.
Well, of course
Go
he
on.
does. No. So here's the thing. Like, if you look into his history, his father was an absolute monster who didn't love him. And like, I really think that whole and that abuse from Fred Trump to Donald Trump left him with this kind of emptiness inside that he needs adoration to fill. That's what led him to live the life that he lives, to reach the heights of power that he reached. And it's really tragic also because that hole that's in him, it can't be filled by any kind of outside you could become the president of the United States. You could rule for 1,000 years. Your name could be, and you will never fill that hole because he's looking in the wrong place for it. That kind of love and contentment can only be cultivated internally. It's one of the things that, Buddhism is really good at. And that I think he would probably benefit from Buddhist practice. Yeah, I mean,
You thought that
I
his
think-
father didn't love him, and that he was
he
not,
definitely did.
and that he was insecure. You felt that Trump was insecure.
Intensely insecure. You can't behave like that if you're not insecure.
He seemed
Like,
the most
mhm.
secure. Like, look at him.
Well,
Remember him on stage with this? I don't know if you watched the Republican primary debate, the first
Yeah.
one, him versus the 16 or 17 other Republicans. It
Mhm.
was like a man among boys. He was just being real, and all these
Yeah.
phony politicians being phony.
Well, I don't think he was being real. I think he was just better at hiding, what he was than
What made
these
you
other
think-
career politicians.
What makes you think his father didn't love him?
If you look into like the biography of like the way Fred Trump treated his children, I can't recall now because I've read a number of articles on it. Like he and the father, for instance, tortured his older brother. Like the older brother wanted to become a pilot, and and like Fred Trump thought that this was all. This is like, what's the difference between you and a bus driver? That because you can fly planes,
He said
because,
that.
Yeah, because the older brother didn't want to be exactly like Fred Trump. He was squeezed out, and Donald Trump became like the new scion, the guy made in his father's image. His father also, if I recall, sent him to military school. Also, there were some behavioral problems before he was sent there. Something I recall a story involving Donald Trump in Queens, like doing normal kid shit. Like I think he went out and bought a knife or something as like a preteen and got the hammer laid
Nice.
down on him pretty heavily by his father. So yeah, I mean
That stuff
honestly,
doesn't sound so bad to me. I mean, it's
yeah.
anyway.
Well, I mean, they tortured the older brother till he drank himself to death. Like,
Yeah, I remember Trump saying that he would. I mean, he doesn't drink to this day, basically,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
his brother died of alcoholism.
yeah, and the fact is that he had a hand in his brother's death, I think. So like if you've got a family that the kid's sin is he wanted to be different and do something different than the father, and you treat him so poorly that he drinks himself to death, that's not a healthy family dynamic. I'm sorry. Like, a family needs to support and uphold each other and, help each other through hard times. And I didn't see that. And I don't think you could see that in, with the sort of like upper class New York socialite, family dynamic that is so common in these types of people who've reached these heights of power.
Interesting. You guys can call in. Oh, I don't have it on screen. 888-775-3773. I just have a couple of questions left for you. But I have some super chats for you. People
Fun.
can super chat to me. And let's see this first one. Lin Yan Chin, a faithful viewer of the Hake Report, over there on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. The number's on the screen, 888-775-3773. But Lin Yan Chin says, please ask Brenton why he chose the path of rejecting common sense as anecdotal and untrustworthy in the face of facts, when facts are all just axiomatic extrapolation about that which is taken to be self-evident, aka opinion of the observer. Did you follow that? Want me to read again?
Yeah, I followed it. So what was her name?
Lin Yan Chin. It's a young man.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
So Lynn, here's the problem with that argument you just made is circular, because you essentially said, why did I reject opinions, like personal opinions and anecdotes based upon facts, which are just opinions? So you're asking why I rejected opinions based upon and not in favor of other opinions. So personal experience.
He said common sense. He said common sense. Okay.
Well, okay. So common sense is just the old way of thinking from a previous society, like that gets instilled in us as we grow up. Like our current common sense is based upon like the expert 19th century scientists' opinion, which a lot of which was wrong. And similarly, like in the 1900s, their common sense was based upon the similar like things in the 1800s. So common sense, a lot of the time, it's not so much truth as it is ideology that people don't recognize as ideology. And we have to be very careful about that. I think it's important that we don't deceive ourselves and that we see actual reality. So if someone's giving a common sense response, or they are giving an anecdotal response, you can take that with a certain amount of veracity. There's something there, but we know that's not true in either situation. Similarly, like when we've got these established ways of finding truth, the scientific method, statistical analysis, that kind of thing. These are coping mechanisms that we have created as humans to try to help us, again, interact with reality. And I really think what you should do is take all three of these into consideration and come to a conclusion based upon all of them together. But I think in general, if the statistics and scientific method have been done properly, and if you are in a position where you can actually interpret them, I think they should be given greater weight than one person's opinion or experience or feeling of common sense, because that's just more people involved. And, you know, you get more heads together, you can suss out the truth and have more perspectives otherwise.
I don't know if that's true. I remember you, when you were debating about Black Lives Matter, if they've done more harm than good, on a prior debate, on Modern Day Debate, and I was super chatting in.
Yeah.
You said that there's lies, there's dang lies, and then there's
lies,
statistics.
there's damn liars and statisticians.
Yeah.
Which I heard from my statistics professor in college, by the way.
Right, because people, and large groups of people are not trustworthy in putting out the truth, even including experts themselves.
Well, I mean, they're not always trustworthy. I just think, like, in general, it can be more trustworthy. But yes, I mean, statistics can be miscarried. It's very, very easy to trick people with statistics. And, you know, that's also why you want to be very careful when you're dealing with, like, a heavily partisan source. It doesn't mean that they're lying necessarily, but you should be really, really careful, especially if they try to give you, like, one or two little facts where you can try to draw big conclusions from. So like, for instance, like that 1350 meme, where
13% of the population commits 50% of the murders. It's referring to black crime. What's up, Modern Day Debate? I see Modern Day Debate in the chat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that I say frequently that saying that and then putting that forth as a fact, it may be a true statistic, but asserting the conclusions people draw from it are about as dumb as saying the average American has one breast and one testicle. Because, you know, American population is 50% female, 50% male. Average them together. Women have two breasts mostly, and, you know, no testicles, and men have 2 testicles, no breasts. So average American, true statistical fact, 1 breast and 1 testicle. So you can draw a true statistical fact that is also a complete and utter lie. And similarly, like you have the same issue with the 1350.
So what is the lie about 1350? What's like a common lie about 13% of the population commits 50%
of the violent crime? Well, there's a number of problems with it. And we kind of went over this, like, and I don't want to do a deep dive into this because this would take hours, but essentially when you control for poverty, that disappears. Essentially, the fact is that murders are more likely to be committed by poor people, and there's no real difference between switching from rural to urban. So you put people in a pressure cooker where they're under a lot of stress from not having enough money, not having enough food, not having access to medical care, that kind of thing. A lot of them are unfortunately going to act out, and that will be violent. And we've seen this. So in controlling for poverty, and controlling for the fact that more Black people have been forced into and kept in poverty compared to the white population, we find that these are more or less equivalent. We also have instances, for instance, that, and I mentioned this in our debate, that there are 7 times the rate of innocent Black people who are convicted of murder compared to white people. So for every 1 innocent white person convicted of murder and sent to prison, there are 7 innocent Black people, Black men who are convicted and sent to prison. So like when you try to boil it down to those basic statistics, it can sound very persuasive to people, but it's ultimately, like, if you understand statistical analysis and if you look deeply into these issues, you realize it's a mirage.
So it's a fact, but it's but you're saying that it's the reason for it is somebody else's fault. They're being victimized by being kept in poverty, and in your mind, poverty causes crime.
No, I mean, poverty does cause crime.
No, it doesn't.
Well, not exactly. So poverty, it's not just poverty that causes crime. It is because if you have a society where everyone is equally poor, they're not likely to steal from each other. It's like when you have a society where some people are poor and some people are very wealthy, and you put them near each other, then suddenly crime starts to happen. And there's a number of reasons behind that, but yeah.
I think that there is a cultural problem, a morality problem, and that's what's causing those people to be so-called poor, and it's also what's causing them to be committing crimes.
I mean, I won't say that there's not
and they're encouraged to feel like victims, which, as you know, that's just causes victims become perpetrators.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about this, and I don't want to rehash our previous argument. But what I'll just say is people oftentimes will adopt ideologies that make sense to them in the moment. A person's ideology and a person's thoughts can oftentimes be an expression of how they feel and what is most convenient for them in the world, or just the way they see things at that time. So if you're looking at somebody having poor values, one of the things you can do to change those values is to change their environment. And when the environment changes, the values change with it. And the experience of being a person often changes with it. It's a tough thing to do, because essentially you're sort of the snake with both sides. Which way is the snake really moving? It's both simultaneously. But yeah, so without getting too into the weeds on that, I think like you invest in these communities, raise their quality of life, clean up the neighborhood, and you're going to see people, behave in a much more positive way because they're not under so much stress. And that would do away with the bad values.
I have a couple of more super chats for you and some calls if you have time. We have about 10 minutes till the top of the hour, but hopefully maybe we can go over.
Yeah, I can go over. This is fun.
Bibby42 with a super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report says, good to see Brenton on The Hake Report. You guys had an awesome debate over there on Modern Day Debate. Shout out. I may not agree with Brenton on anything, but he seems nice and respectful. I wish him well.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Bibby42. Hydro gave a super chat. Says, your guest Brenton sounds and laughs like Marxist Ben Burgess. Ben Burgess. You're a friend of his, right?
Okay, I don't think I laugh like Ben Burgess. Ben Burgess and I are friends. He is a Marxist. I am not. But I'll take that as a compliment.
Ben Burgess has appeared on the Hake Report over a year ago. Nice. Anyway, let me get to a call. Jonathan in California wants to talk about the Brenton saying that Trump tortured his brother or the father did something. Jonathan, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Go for it.
Cool. All right.
Are you on speaker? It's coming in
no,
echoey.
I just took it off.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
Whoa. Whoa.
You okay, man?
Sorry. I'm all right. So did you know that every day Trump's brother told him to never drink and never smoke and never do drugs?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, does that sound like somebody who was torturing him? Like, why would that not surprise you? Because you thought that Trump was torturing him to death. So you think that he would do something so nice to somebody who was torturing him to death?
Well,
you know what I mean? Why would he be so nice as to give him that advice if he was torturing him to death?
Yeah, dude, it's his brother. It's family. And, we as humans have a very strong instinct towards our family. We love our family members oftentimes, when they are behaving in monstrous ways. Like, even when you have a contentious relationship with someone, that's not all it is. Humans are complicated, So sometimes we don't always act in ways that an outside observer might expect because they're not us. They're not inside our head. I know if I had a really bad relationship with my brother and I wanted it to be a good relationship, maybe I might genuinely try to help him, and maybe that would be returned, maybe it wouldn't.
And then so Trump followed his advice too,
Mm-hmm.
so he'd be more likely to follow the advice of somebody who he hated enough to torture to death.
I mean, again, these are siblings. It just
sounds like you got a little bit of confirmation bias, man. You know what I mean?
I mean,
and I would not put it past that Soka Gakkai thing to give you a bit of narcissism, right? Because you just chant.
No, definitely not. So this is very important as far as narcissism goes in Buddhism. We hold that the self doesn't actually exist. So it's pretty much the absolute opposite of narcissism. I don't think
so. When you're chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo every morning, right? When you're doing that, you're supposed to be imagining what you want in your life, right?
That's part of the meditation. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is the title of the Lotus Sutra, which is the central sutra for my text. Especially early on, when you first start chanting, you want to oftentimes part of the meditation
picture what
exercise.
You want in your life. Try to manifest it by picturing it while you're chanting, right? That's kind of
that's something that practitioners do, but it's something that you do to actually get past your ego. In the same way that people could use the gravitational pull of Earth to launch something like a satellite.
It's saying I'm going to be able to imagine something into my life. That's getting over your ego? Because, that sounds like it's giving you an ego to say, all I got to do is close my eyes and repeat this chant, and I'm going to be able to manifest this thing. Because I've had
that's not what
with these people, and they're all narcissists, man. They're all narcissists.
So here's the thing:
you're playing God technically.
Mm-hmm.
You're I'm going to be able to manifest whatever the heck I want in my life. That's crazy. That's got nothing to do with being still, man.
I didn't know that about the Buddhism thing. I didn't know that you guys did that.
It's a meditation
they worship
technique.
This altar thing that's supposed to be the mirror of their life.
Mm-hmm.
But they got a shaka. How many people have you shakabuku'd?
Shakabuku? Shakabuku is just talking about Buddhism with someone, so I don't know. I don't keep track of it.
Is that like voodoo doll?
No, it's a term for.
You're supposed to be doing the whole Jehovah's Witness thing. You got a shakabuku. It's
convert.
You have to
convert
get people to join.
This
the cult.
This is a complete misrepresentation of what it actually is. Shakabuku
They're
is
trying to
sometimes
turn
people
the whole
talk.
world into. They're all about like world domination, man.
Okay.
They're all
World
about
domination. All right, Jonathan.
Sorry, we're getting off the rails.
Let me hear
I'm
him.
sorry.
Let me hear him
You're
respond.
going completely off the rails there. So Shakabuku is a term. It goes back in Buddhism to debate, and it was originally done like among monks, where they would involve
To
themselves in
debate? Oh,
debates
interesting.
about the sutras.
didn't know.
Sometimes people will use Shakabuku, like you will see SGI sometimes will use Shakabuku in the sense of like witnessing to people, and that is something that people do. I think that's a more narrow use of the term. We definitely do talk about Buddhism a lot because it's been a positive influence on our life, and we want to help other people. So yeah,
Well, I've been to the meetings, man.
You got Shakabuku'd, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got Shakabuku. Yeah.
Did you receive a Gohan zone?
I was working for. Yeah, I got a Gohan zone.
Oh, great.
I was working for a guy who was like, "You have to join this religion, or I'm not going to give you any hours."
Nice.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
That's horrifying. Okay, so first off, if that happens, you need to immediately like report that both to his superiors in Soka Gakkai, because that's incredibly abusive. And second of all, you need to also report that, like, put in a labor complaint, man, because like that's something that is your boss forcing a religion on you.
Right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't so like black and white. It was just kind of like a, like
It was a hint.
unspoken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, even you really should go to HR with that kind of complaint. Like that is
I don't believe
not
in
cool
HR,
for a
though.
boss to do. I mean, it's there, it exists. I assure you.
No,
There is
HR
we
for
shouldn't do
the
it.
religion.
No, he's talking about for your job.
For your job,
Discrimination.
yeah.
He was,
Religious discrimination.
He was a contractor, so it was like it was the independent sort of thing.
Mm.
But
Well, what
yeah.
I'd say is like, that I'm sorry that happened to you. That and I should add, by the way, I'm
Thanks,
not a
man.
spokesman for Soka Gakkai. I'm a
yeah,
former
no,
men's
you
leader.
seem like a nice
thing.
guy, man. You seem, and I do have respect how you. I mean, because like whenever you get somebody from who's willing to debate and then be respectful and actually hear the other person and not like just do all the
Sure.
bad. You're good at this, so I respect
Yeah.
that.
I appreciate
thank
it,
you.
Jonathan.
So I do want to correct something though, because this is a popular misconception about chanting the Gohan Zone. People think it's like the secret, and if you chant to the Gohan Zone,
Yeah.
you will get
That's what it
material
seems
things in
like.
your life. So first
That's
off,
what
there is a meditation technique that you do where you chant and focus on material things, but that is actually part of transcending your ego, because there is a way of meditating where you try to think about like embrace the idea that you are selfish and you only care about yourself, and follow that like as far down the rabbit hole as you really can. Okay, I really only care about myself. So what is it that I want? I want wine, women, and song. Wait a minute.
know.
Yeah. Now here.
Narcissism stuff.
But here's the thing. You follow that down. What do you find? You don't actually love yourself when you do that. You love everything that is not you. You want the wine to drink it. You want the women because they're not you. And suddenly, I can't like love myself because I love all of this other stuff. But if I actually do love all of this other stuff, suddenly there's a polarity between you and the external world. That is what that meditation is supposed to teach.
All right.
But like you're at like the baby's steps at the very beginning. So I gave away the ending there.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Hake.
All right.
Awesome stuff. You too, man.
All right.
Chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo to the Gohan Zone can feel like magic, and I found my life has improved since I embraced that Buddhist practice, but it's not magic.
Okay.
I'm just doing it, and anything that I actually do in my life is still stuff that I have done. It's just come about as because I'm in a better headspace.
I guess that's partly why I asked if you had an Asian wife, is because you got into the Buddhism thing, even though it's more Indian, but the Asians embraced it.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Well,
Asians, the Chinese, like they fell for the Buddhism thing, which is Indian. And they also fell for the Marxism thing, which is not even Chinese, but they're like communists now. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, it's not. So the reason Marxism became widely adopted in China was because China was the focus of like a inhuman level of colonial abuse. And Marxism at the time was seen as a way to throw off the yoke of colonial oppressors and build your own society on your own terms. And, in some ways that really succeeded. China is an economic powerhouse today. The Soviet Union went from, a limping pre-industrial power that was still semi-feudal to a superpower capable of destroying the Nazi war machine and going toe-to-toe with the United States in a matter of decades. Now, there was a massive human cost to what they did. I don't think that model is a good model, particularly not moving forward. But I mean, obviously Marxism is going to be something that people are going to embrace when they feel essentially the colonial boot heel coming from the West.
Wow.
It's their way to fight back.
A quick super chat. Asmodor over there on Odyssey, odyssey.com/@the_Hake Report/live says 13 to 50 obviously means blacks commit half the murders. From this, we can conclude they're more likely to commit murder. Your guest is
you got the first one, but you don't have the second one.
Your guest is just making excuses. White Appalachians are poorer than urban blacks and don't commit murder at these rates.
Oh, dude, no, you have no idea. Like, seriously. And I actually even pointed that out in our debate when you were like, there's no poverty in the United States. I'm like, have you seen Appalachia? Like, there was a freaking kid.
So they're murderous up there in Appalachia?
Anywhere there is extreme poverty, you see a huge rise in murders and also in police killings.
Correlation is not causation.
No, certainly not. And it takes a lot to understand causation. But again, you put people in a pressure cooker, they're going to act out.
But the people put themselves in this.
But I mean, there's that whole, people are afraid of rednecks, specifically because, and especially in the mountains, there has been a lot of crime and murders related to that. I mean, especially during Prohibition, it was huge with you talk about the old whiskey stills and the shootouts. There was even today, with the opioid epidemic. I mean, there was a kid I went to high school with. I know there's still flyers around our old Kentucky town. Have you seen this missing adult? And I guarantee you, he's dead in a field somewhere because of he got involved in drugs. And why did he get involved in drugs? Because there's a ton of poverty, and that's one of the only ways you can make money in poor communities, whether they be urban or rural.
Huh. All right. We'll have to see. That's interesting. I would have to have.
You would have to look into the statistics.
Well, Azador says he's written extensively about this issue, and so he begs to differ.
Yeah, but, I'm not familiar with the author. I can't speak one way or the other.
Okay. Another super chat. Single mom doing her best says, how are you going to blame Trump's dad for someone else's drinking? He can't control how someone else chooses to deal with their insecurities.
I mean, in the same way that I would blame a manager whose team fails or a commander whose soldiers die. When you are in a position of authority, the buck stops at you. And as a father, if you knowingly or unknowingly create a toxic environment for your kid, same thing as a mother or whatever, that's your fault. And you have a hand in their fate. You don't completely control it because their actions are not your actions. And sometimes you do the best and bad stuff still happens. But there's absolutely the primary responsibility for a child that turns out poorly. It falls flatly on their parents.
Okay.
Unless there's some other extenuating circumstance.
I've got a few more calls. I hope you can stay.
I can stay around. Yeah.
Joe from Phoenix, Arizona wants to talk about the 13% causing 50%. Joe, thank you for holding.
Your viewers are very hung up on this. So continue, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Brenton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 1350 stat is complete and total BS, and Asmodor is a complete idiot as usual. Now, the FBI stats show approximately 1.2 million murders per year. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So about half of those are committed by black criminals. So that's about 600,000, right?
So you said that it's BS, but it's true?
No,
Bogus
just
speech?
listen, James.
Go ahead.
So it's 1.05% of black people that commit violent crimes: murder, aggravated assault, rape, negligent homicide is what the FBI tracks. So it's a tiny, tiny percentage of black folks. It says nothing about black folks. The same way that the white folks who commit the most white-collar crimes on Wall Street says nothing about most white folks.
I've heard that
Yeah.
that's
Says
actually
nothing.
not true.
What do you
According
mean?
to the
This
FBI,
whole
yeah.
white-collar crime thing, when you
Mm-hmm.
compare to the number of people, the percentage of the different populations, the demographics of those in the white-collar world, the blacks are still more likely to commit the white-collar crime.
Wrong again, James. The
No,
FBI says
I've looked
that
into it.
Hang on, he
FBI
had a
I
bigger
have-
point
Go
here,
ahead,
though,
go ahead.
where he was saying, like,
Anyway, I
these
interrupted you.
murders,
Yeah,
it's,
go ahead.
You know,
Yes,
it's
you did.
1%
the
less than
FBI
1%,
says
right?
that
We'll deal with your
average
white-collar stuff
criminal-
later.
Yeah, the FBI says the average white-collar criminal is a college-educated white man.
That doesn't say
So-
anything. It doesn't say anything about the likelihood of one committing the crime, the
Well,
white-collar crime versus
Yes,
the other.
that's what he said.
No, he just said the average one is.
Yeah,
course the average
the
is
average
what-
American has one breast and one testicle. It doesn't mean anything.
Right, he's just said something that doesn't mean anything.
No, he was using that as an example to say that you can't
Thank you,
draw
Brenton.
broad conclusions about white people
Thank you,
based
Brenton.
upon the
Thank
white
you,
collar
James.
crime.
Thank you, James. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe. What was your
Do you see
broader
how
point?
you see how he interrupts when he knows he's wrong about something?
No, I had interrupted because I knew that you were wrong about something, and I had let you get away for it for call after call after call.
I think you misunderstood him.
No, he's literally trying to say that whites in the white collar world are more likely than blacks in the white collar world to commit white collar crime.
I'm saying the opposite of
And
that.
that's not true.
I'm saying the opposite of that.
He's
Oh,
saying,
you're
I'm
saying that
saying-
blacks are more likely to commit white collar crime too?
oh boy.
No, I'm saying
Then-
that simply because white folks commit more white-collar crime says nothing about white folks in general. The same way that 1.05% says nothing about black folks in general, period.
Yeah. By the way, I'll point something out really quickly here. What is and is not crime is determined by powerful people within our society. And oftentimes things that should be crimes, for instance, crashing the economy for the entire freaking country, wind up, oh, no, that's not a crime. We can't do anything. In fact, let's help that person. Whereas something that does in comparatively less, damage, like, I don't know, shoplifting or something, suddenly we come down hard on that. Like, it seems to me that what is and is not a target of the state's violence, and that's really what it is, it's violence coming from the police against our population, is what is most convenient for the elite rich people that control this country.
I understand some of that. I
Well
understand that
said.
to a point.
Well said. Well said,
This
Brenton.
guy. Here, let me read.
I like him.
Let me read.
I thought there was going to be another guy who's mad at me.
He's
I'm
a
happy.
black Republican. He's a so-called black conservative, Joe from Phoenix. Let me read this for both of you guys.
Yeah.
And I won't hang up on you, Joe, at least not at this point. This is law. This is called law abidingness. This is from Race, Evolution, and Behavior, I think, from Philip Rushton. You ever heard of it?
Okay. No, but I'm already like red flags and alarms are sounding in my
I know, I
head.
bet.
It sounds like bullshit.
I bet. This is a line called law abidingness with respect to crime. J.Q. Wilson and Hernstein, 1985, review much of the relevant literature. Afro-Americans currently account for about half of all arrests for assault and murder and 2/3 of all arrests for robbery in the United States. This was back in 85. Even though they constitute less than 1/8 of the population, since about the same proportion of victims say their assailant was black, the arrest statistics cannot be attributed just to police prejudice. And it goes on to say
you
blacks.
wouldn't do it to just police prejudice, but like this
Victim
is
prejudice?
the same bad statistics that we've been talking about. Like there's a
Let me finish
million
reading.
factors. Okay, keep going.
Blacks are also overrepresented, according to this book, Race, Evolution, and Behavior, among persons arrested for most white-collar offenses. Overrepresented. For example, in 1980, blacks made up about 1/3 of those arrested for fraud, forgery, counterfeiting, receiving stolen property, and about 1/4 of those arrested for embezzlement. Blacks are underrepresented only among those white-collar offenses that ordinarily require for their commission access to high-status occupations, tax fraud, securities violations. Interesting,
So,
huh?
Oh, there you go.
Well, I don't
So
know
there you
where they're
go.
getting their statistics from, but I would,
1980.
I would, well, yes, but I mean, where are they getting that
Yeah,
from? Is there a survey? Is it peer reviewed? You know, we can't really know. And the way that that article was kind of couched makes it sound like this guy has an ideological axe to grind.
But
Listen,
don't you
Brenton,
guys?
I mean,
Brenton,
everyone
you know,
does to a certain extent, but like,
Brenton,
I'm not going to put out an article like that.
Brenton, Jesse and Hake just have a total goal of always painting black is bad and white is good. That is their goal, and that is all that they will ever do. So that's
I've
the
heard
whole
that.
process of doing
That's a
Yeah, I've heard that. I
smear.
hope they can be more.
That's a false smear from Joe from Phoenix. He's biased. He's a
It is
resentful person.
100% accurate, and if you listen to the show for even it's the same show every day. Black is bad, white is good. That
If
is
it's the
all they
same
do.
show every day, he tunes in every day. It must be a pretty good show.
just like
That doesn't answer the question, but I see
like
what you mean.
hatewatch.org does, and rightwingwatch.org does too, James.
Huh?
They watch you very closely.
Hakewatch.org and rightwingwatch.org.
Oh, right. And a bunch of commies. It's a pretty good show. I don't blame them for watching.
By the way,
I'm
so
pretty well. I don't darken people's spirits with my stuff.
I mean, we talked
That's a
about
rich
that.
one.
We talked about that on the thing. Like, if you're fanning the flames of racial hatred, you know, you kind of darken people's.
But I'm not
lives.
fanning any flames of racial hatred. I'm telling some factual stuff about, you know, what's wrong with the blacks and what's happening. But
Yeah, but
we're
what's
preaching.
the
There it is.
overall
We're preaching love.
narrative of that?
What's
Yeah.
wrong with the blacks? 1.05% is the blacks, huh, James?
No, there's more wrong with the blacks than just the violent crime. You are part of what you are an example of something wrong with blacks. You have a dark mindset, Joe. You think that Jesse Lee is preaching hate when all he does is preach love and forgiveness.
I think
Jesse
you know.
says most.
He's calling in to
black
complain
people
about Jesse
are
now.
retarded. No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you are.
I'm debunking your BS as usual.
But this is like a side point. He said most blacks are retarded, and then when challenged with it, he said, "Is 72% most, meaning 72% out of wedlock births, or
I feel like
96%? 96%.
I feel like this whole thing is kind of going way off the rails
It is
here.
96% voting for Obama twice. That's anyway.
Yeah. So I think what
Of voters, not black people, James. See, you're lying again.
It's
Brenton,
irrelevant.
all he does.
Well, no, that is
lie.
actually relevant of how many people like vote. I mean,
It's an indicator.
All
It's
Hagen-
a-
no,
all
hang
Hagen
on.
does is
Only certain
lie.
people vote.
It's a
It's
symptom.
lie about black folks, and black is bad and white is good. That is their whole message, Brenton. Period.
This guy's shallow. Joe is
So-
shallow.
You know,
See?
I think what
And then they attack
might
because they know
benefit
I'm right about
is
this.
a little bit of compassion from everybody to
Right.
take a look at what the other person is saying,
Yeah.
validate at
Joe has
least
no
their
compassion.
worldview and engage in good faith.
Yeah.
Now,
You're
that
hysterical.
said, it doesn't mean that everything that everybody says is correct. And
Right.
it also doesn't necessarily mean that conclusions that may be drawn from it, like the idea that blacks might be
James-
somehow
James has an
inherently
evil
criminal, which
heart
is
and wants
ridiculous.
to
I never
stand the
suggested that.
times.
Yeah, but
Brenton,
sometimes
Brenton, you're
sometimes
exactly
people
right
can
when you said
take
Jake,
that
Jake is
impression.
Hold on,
always
Joe.
fan the
You're-
flames of
you're
racial
babbling.
hatred,
You're
period.
babbling, Joe.
Period. Shut
Brenton
up,
is
Shut up.
talking. You're being rude to the guest.
Shut up, James.
You need your Kama Sutra.
The
All
Kame
faith
Sutra.
and justice do
You just
stand the
fused
flames
the
of racial
Kame Sutra with
hatred,
Goku's
period.
Kamehameha. I love that. That's great.
Anyway, Joe, I appreciate it. Nice call. Anything else?
Yeah. Keep on lying, James.
All
We'll
right.
Talk again. Bye.
All right, bye. You were
Thank
saying,
you. By the way, I like that guy. I'm glad you two are.
Yeah.
Are
we're good for
connected.
each other.
So so this is something that I think is really important when we talk to someone else who has a radically different view from us. And I think it's that we need to we should make as good an attempt as possible to see things from their point of view, to see where what they are saying is correct and where it does not match up with our experience. And I think we can come to some sort of, even if not agreement, some sort of mutual respect as human beings, if we can understand each other. So, I think it's better to do that than to hunker down and go into loggerheads, because oftentimes when you meet a group of people and you start listening to a new teaching or whatever, you immediately compare it to your already held beliefs. And if it matches, you feel validated. And if it conflicts you say, no, I don't believe that. That's not true. And in either case, you learn nothing. So
Right.
even if something that someone is saying is wildly out of proportion and possibly harmful, and I do genuinely think that some of the stuff that I've seen come out of, I haven't watched a lot of Justice Lee Peterson, but some of the stuff that I've seen come out of your show could really be taken the wrong way by say people who don't appreciate the subtleties. I don't think that's your intention from what I've noticed, but we all do need to be careful about that. You don't want to give the impression, for instance, that somebody should be afraid of Black people, based upon what is, as we've established, bad statistics.
I just think that they shouldn't relax. They should be careful,
Mhm.
wary, because crime is on the rise. It's not. I'm not saying,
Mhm.
just go shoot him or go call the cops anytime you see him. But be wary. We have a dangerous world, just like you say with the China/communist virus. Be wary. Be careful. Have your healthy
Communist
habits.
virus.
Have
We
your
need
healthy
to-
habits.
Yeah.
Uh,
We need to talk. We need to at some point, because it seems like you've been lumping all parts of anything to the left of you into communism. And
Yes.
this kind of reminds me a little bit of people on the left who say anything to the right of them is fascism. These are
Right.
actual real movements that, to be honest, you could especially in the United States, there is almost no actual communism, and those communists who are in the United States now have no power. And I think it's probably somewhat the other way with regard to fascists. There are some of them, and they are incredibly dangerous. But they do not represent the majority of even right-wing electoral politics, I don't think. So I think we need to not be lazy and just lump all of our quote-unquote enemies into one bucket.
All right. Quick couple of super chats. Man, we got the lines full. I won't be able to get to all of you guys, but I will try to do what I can. Azador gave a couple of more super chats on Odyssey. To the Hake report, I sent you the studies on blacks committing white-collar crimes at higher rates per capita than whites. Yes, thank you, Azador. That was the study. That was the study that I had read.
Mm-hmm.
He also says, crashing the economy is a crime? Tell that guest to stop being anti-Semitic. Whoa.
What? No, whoa, hang on. So first off, the 2008 crisis happened as a result of the factors were AIG was a big part of it, as were the credit default swaps and the major rating institutions. This has nothing to do with any particular racial group. This has everything to do with the people in power within our society who have all of the money and power, and we're essentially running a scam on all of us. So I want to make this very clear. There is no racial component to this whatsoever.
All right. Jib Jab says, your guest just wanted any reason to say testicle and breast and testicle and testicle and breast and breast. Yeah, this is a Christian
fun.
show.
What? God made testicles, God made breasts.
Whoa. I'm covering my ears. Hey, my favorite caller is on the line. Maze in Dayton, Ohio. She has a question for Brenton about statistics. What's up, Maze?
Sure.
Hello, Brenton.
Hey, Maze.
Can I say this first, James?
Uh-huh.
I'm so happy that James found somebody that looked like him, that don't think like him. The best thing that you ever heard. That you told him that there's no crime has no color. I've been trying to get through to him for years. But when it comes to statistics, you have to look at the people that's doing the statistics to keep the things the way they want it to look like for themselves. But James don't love himself, and that's his problem. You know what you said yesterday? I keep him at a distance, and I don't want them in my neighborhood. Do you think you have a neighborhood guest, or do you think people can afford to live where they want to?
She's referring to me. So. She's referring to me responding to a caller who asked, how long have I been racist towards blacks? A black caller.
I'm not responding to that.
And I said, yeah, because I said, I'm not racist towards them. I like them at a distance. And
okay, but you can see how that's racist.
But it's not racist. It's just a lot of people prefer their own group, and people also,
No,
when you see a lot of crime coming out of those poor blacks, you don't want to be around that.
So
and you don't
just
want to be
admitted
around
it.
Caucasians
We
doing
talked
the same
about
That's
thing.
not
1%.
racism,
You
though.
don't get that.
But it's maybe 1%, but it's like double and triple what
But you don't-
the average white that you run into is going to do.
No, it's what I'm trying to say. You can see other people's fault, but you can't see your own.
It's a risk.
And I'm glad somebody's sitting there look just like you that's telling you.
Risk
You don't get it. And
assessment.
all the people in your chat room mad with him because he's telling the truth.
And then on top of that, they may not get caught
Mm-hmm.
for crimes, but they have a crazy attitude that I'm not used to dealing with.
Really?
Yeah.
See, he thinks he owns this country that what he can tell somebody what
I
it is.
like you guys.
And you live in you don't
She's
own
black,
land,
by
and you
the
don't. You might. What if you live in some other minority's apartment and they tell you they don't want you there? What you gonna do? Since you say you
Discrimination
feel
is a basic human right.
Everybody should
They
have the right to own the
discriminate.
same. You don't think everybody should have the right to own the same thing. You just think that one group of people should own and control everything. That's what you think.
Whatever.
That's why you don't
know
love
me.
yourself.
You don't
What?
know me.
I'm not knowing you. I'm just saying I'm glad the man that's here that's telling you that look like you, and the ones on Facebook that mad with him because they don't, in the chat room that's mad with him because they don't like what he's telling them.
Uh-huh. Are you watching via Facebook, Maze?
Excuse me?
You watching via Facebook?
You don't need to know how I'm watching. I'm watching.
I'm just curious, though.
I may be watching 3 or 4 ways, for all you know. But as
Cool.
I'm saying to you, for you to do, if you want to do a prayer, do his. This sound more godly than the one that you do, your silent one.
Okay. I should do the more godly
And try
Buddhist
that and
prayer
see how you try
than the
for a month
silent
and see
prayer.
how you come out.
Have you,
Hatred will not-
have
you
you
should
ever
try
heard of,
Daimoku.
you should try
Because all
Jesse
hatred-
Peterson's silent prayer.
All hatred do is spread harm. And some of those in your chat room are harmful, hateful people.
You don't know what
And you
they're
can
doing
see
in
it
their
come
real
out of them, and
lives.
you can hear it come out of them every day.
I wouldn't
black
doubt
people-
that most people
Black
in my
people are
chat
not your
room.
problem. I keep telling you, black people are not your problem. They're your conscience.
I never said they were. They're my
Yes,
conscience.
you did. You said it yesterday.
Black people are the conscience of white people.
So they're saying you do that we wouldn't
Go
even
on,
dare do.
Brenton. Go ahead. Respond.
Okay, Brandon. So I'm happy that you're telling James, even though he's going out of one ear through the other one, and go over there and get his big boss and give him some of it too if he ever have you on his show, and it'd be a good thing. So you have a good one, and I have to go.
Thank you, Maze. Appreciate you. Take care. Go.
She was lovely.
Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah. So I guess what I kind of want to say as my reaction to what she had was that, you know, there are times that people can be, we do have to all be mindful and to keep ourselves safe in the world. But we also want to make sure that, you know, our brains tend to pay attention more to things that could hurt us than would benefit us. For instance, you know, you notice the image behind me, there's a lot of red in that image. And one of the reasons why, and a lot of, you know, comic covers that come out have a lot of red in them, because the brain latches onto the blood, because that could be dangerous. Our ego, its main job is essentially to function as a radar. Is there anything in the way? How do I keep this particular organism alive? The problem is when you identify yourself with your ego, you naturally identify yourself into a state of perpetual anxiety. And this can cause a great deal of fear that is simply not logical or rational and can actually trip you up. Again, it's another reason why, you know, you might want to try Daimoku. And I'll tell you what, I'll look into this silent prayer thing as well.
Nice.
But like, you know, one of the things that I learned when I was traveling from place to place and living, you know, in the woods, you know, miles from civilization with no police to help me, is I realized, you know, when you meet somebody in Georgia or you meet somebody in Maine or you meet somebody somewhere in between, by and large, most people are good. And they're going to be helpful to you, you know, unless you're acting like a dick or something. And that oftentimes we will overemphasize threats from this group or that group, when in fact, again, as I said, we're just complicated humans trying to relate to each other. It was very scary when I first moved to New York and I was in, you know, a neighborhood where I, as a white guy for the first time, was a minority, you know, and, you know, I'd be coming home very, very late at night. And for the first couple of months, I carried a knife on me everywhere I went because I'd been mugged before. And I was worried that such a thing might happen in big, bad New York City. And then one night I lost the knife in a sushi restaurant, and I realized I don't actually need it. Like there are, and in 10 years, I never had a problem because I listened to my gut. And I also kept myself open, you know, to my neighbors who were different from me, but ultimately they were wonderful people.
Okay. Let me talk to my producer. Says a sensible black William in California wants to talk with you. William, how are you doing?
Here we go.
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, man?
Doing well, thank you. Here,
That's
Good to meet you,
How
William.
you
you're
guys?
on with Brenton.
Brenton. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling pretty good.
That's good, man. You know what, man? To be honest with you, man, I would probably like you if I ever met you and probably do things together, but I'm going to tell you where the line would be crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody told me this. This was my grandfather in 1967. Were you around then?
Nope.
Okay, I think I might trust him a little bit better. He told me the last thing in the world, and at that time in 1967, you know, blacks had a lot of problems. You know that.
I mean,
you know,
yes, everybody has a lot of problems, and things tend to be worse.
you know,
in the
there was
past.
a pretty important time, but I was only 7, and you weren't there. But I can tell you what that old man told me. The last thing, and this is facts, the last thing that black people need is a white man taking up for them. We don't need nobody taking up for us. That's like, you know, a little child acting out and allowing him to do that. Here's the worst thing in the world for black people. Affirmative action, Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton, all of that crap.
So
and
Al
it
Sharpton's a
sounds
black
very
guy, though, right?
unpatriotic. And you know what? The best thing that happened to black people in this country is patriotism. You know, being a patriot. Excuse me. You know, being a patriot is what it's all about, man. You know, you kind of like, I mean, I like you. You're well spoken, but I'm telling you,
Thank you.
if you don't see the crime rising in this country right now, if you don't see the blacks acting out in this country right now, that's your problem. Because I'm black. I'm qualified. I see it. Okay? We only make up 13% of the population. Here's the fact. 13% of the population, and every year we represent over 50% of the crime.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier on the show.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it, William,
yeah.
man. I kind of
I
keep
mean-
on moving. But thank you for
Keep
your
it
input,
moving,
man.
man. But hey, man, Brenton, nice meeting you and everything, man. Maybe you might want to think twice about that, man. You know, they don't need you to take up for them. They need to
Yes,
straighten out.
so-
We need to straighten out our communities.
So what I want to emphasize here
A caller
is-
called in just to let you know this is a
Yeah.
family-friendly show. Children sometimes listen, so avoid the cuss words.
Oh, okay.
A caller
Did I
called in about
cuss?
that. You said a couple of bad words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good idea to consider a part of the body, but I understand that some people.
No, he was
think that
referring
that's
to the
rude.
D word. You said being a D word.
And you know what,
Oh,
Brenton, to tell
he
you the
said
truth, are you
blank.
familiar with the Black Panthers, Brenton?
Yeah. Very familiar.
No, you're not. Because they're a spinoff. The group in the 60s is a spinoff. The Black
no, yeah.
Panthers are the
Hang on.
761st Battalion. Go look it up.
Oh, that black. Yeah, I'm also familiar.
Those
with
are the
history of
original Black
yeah.
Panthers. Check out
I
their
thought you were talking about,
documentary.
like, the new Black
And they
Panthers
faced
versus the
real
60s Black
racism
Panthers.
while they
Yeah.
were fighting for this country to make it free for me and you today. Go look at their documentary, and you'll kind of understand what I'm saying.
Thanks,
we don't
William.
need anybody white taking up for us. But you have a good day, Brendan. Nice meeting you, buddy.
Absolutely. So what I wanted to say to that is I am not taking up for anyone. I'm speaking for myself from the way that I see the world. I talked earlier about this being partially a hobby and partially a religious duty of mine, because I am obliged to confront slanderers of the Lotus Sutra. And I find oftentimes when people are making very broad statements about whole groups of people, that is a very major slander of the sutra. So yeah, I'm sure black people are perfectly capable for speaking for themselves, and they absolutely should. I am simply giving my perspective as an individual.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't like when blacks say you can't speak for black people. You don't know what it is to experience racism. Give me a break. This is America. We have the freedom of speech, even if you're wrong. Man,
Well, yeah, there's two sides to that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the one side is you don't want to speak authoritatively about something you don't have a lot of experience in, but also the idea that somebody, the flip side where I will agree with you on that is just because someone doesn't necessarily have a ton of direct experience doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about or
Right.
shouldn't be able to speak to it. I think we can find a middle ground there because I think there's valid points on both sides.
You know, I really wanted to get to all the callers, but we are at the bottom of the hour, and I have to end it. Dawning Armor wanted to talk about racial realism, Buddhism versus atheism, but he'll have to call another time, or maybe call you at some point. And Skip in Augusta, Georgia, wanted to know if Brenton believes in white privilege, but I can't get to these guys.
Yeah, that it exists. There are privileges that certain people in society get for being white, but privileges and are attached to every identity that you can have.
So give the people how to get in contact with you if they want to contact you. And I know that you've been putting out some content, comics and stuff. Go for it.
Well, this is really exciting. Yeah. So I have a Kickstarter running right now. If you go on Kickstarter and you search Durruti, Durruti, it is Durruti's Shadow of the People. This is a biopic / war epic about anarchist Buenaventura Durruti, who defeated the fascists in Barcelona and led an army of 10,000 anarchists against Francisco Franco. It's an incredible story of a guy who started out as a union member and bank robber, and rose to challenge a dictator and liberated an entire city. So we're doing really, really well. The book is funded. So if you want to get on there, just come on and toss in, grab yourself a copy of the book. I'm also the author of Snow White Zombie Apocalypse, the Ringo-nominated comic book series. You can find me on YouTube. Just search my name, Brenton Lengel, at Brenton Lengel on Twitter, and my website, www.brentonlengel.com.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. It was fun to talk with you. Maybe we'll talk again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. This was very stimulating.
Brenton Lengel, everybody. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care. Wow. Well, guys, I will be getting to your calls. Skip in Augusta, Georgia. I will get to you. I got to take a break. It is too hot in here. I will get to calls. Dale in Maryland is up next, actually, a first-time caller. Asks, why do you feel like rap is demonic? Don't think I said that, but I have to share with you another OK song. OK is great music, I think. This track is entitled Fight by OK, and it's from the 2005 album High Road Part 2. Enjoy, and I'll be right back for the last half of hour 2. Hang tight, guys. Enjoy.
You don't have to go far if you're already where you are. There's one big giant mind for all the world. You don't have to go far. If you're already where you are, there's one big giant mind for all the world. There's no reason to hold on.
So good, am I right? Some people don't think I'm right. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, says Elijah. This is so bad it's funny, Severio Jones says. Hake on kazoo. Circus music, Niner 3000 says. What's up, Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Wow, I'm stuck on hold and I have to listen to this mess, says Skip. What's up, Skip? Skip is on hold. He's going to be coming up on the thing. Alexander Soldier Netizen, Soldier Netizen, says the singing chicken. Hake sings okay at karaoke bars. I wish. Hake used to listen to this when he would get high on iced coffee. He says, fan of the ladies. Ashley Galloway. Ashley over there on Facebook says, well, no longer need an eye doctor. I need an ear doctor. Thanks, Hake. Lisa says, CD is playing backwards, I think. Shout out to the Facebook crew. Very nice. Joel makes better music than this. What do you mean? He makes great music. This is lights out. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. I got to get to, I am going to talk a little bit more about this crackdown on the anti-CRT parents. It's kind of interesting to me. But first, I got to get to Dale out of Maryland, a first-time caller who wants to ask about rap. What's up, Dale? How are you? Dale, are you there? He's been on hold for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Dale! I shall put him on hold and go to Skip in Augusta, Georgia. Skip, how are you doing, man? Thank you for holding.
Hey, James, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you. I really wanted to. I wanted to get to you. I wanted to get to Dawning Armor and everybody. But I had to keep moving.
It would have just been a waste of time trying to talk sense to him. I like him. He's a nice guy, and I really enjoyed y'all's debate.
Nice.
That y'all had. But let me put this towards Mays and what Joe said about white folks and about Mays said that we don't have to fear black folks.
Okay.
Well, we don't have to fear them in the ghettos in Chicago and in your major cities. I guess some white folks do because they're the ones committing all the crimes. And you can't even. I found 3 stories about Six Flags. And every one of them were blacks jumping up and down on cars.
Yeah.
Busting out windows and stealing doggone turkey legs from one of the vendors. You know, you can't even take your family to Six Flags and enjoy yourself without having to be in fear of blacks.
Yeah, it didn't used to be like this either. According to JLP, which I believe, did not used to be this out of control. And in fact, society at large has just declined and deteriorated. And contrary to what Joe from Phoenix claims, we well know that whites are following suit, but he has to have us say that so that he feels better about the black thing, because he does identify with the blackness. You're right about that. What a mess.
But it's sad, James, because nobody wants to admit there's a problem in the black community, and that some of them want to say Jesse hates blacks. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He tries to tell you what the problem is. You know, there's no family, there's no husband, there's no father in the home.
Yeah.
You know.
And he says let that be a warning to all the other people who are going down the same road of victimhood and it's identifying with the color thing over what's right. You're right about that. It's a warning.
If Jesse hated the blacks, he would go along with them, like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton.
Yep.
You know, he's not doing that. He's trying to help. He's trying to help all people.
Yeah.
And the blacks just don't. Some blacks don't want to look at that. They don't want to see it. They want to blame the white man for everything. You know, white supremacy is supposedly the biggest problem in America, but I have yet to see any evidence of it. I really haven't.
William from Cali, who called in, says it was not like this at all. Blacks acted better with less rights. They had dignity, even as slaves, many of them. Yeah.
Well,
what a shame.
I don't know, but it's awful. But until we start seeing the problem for what it is and trying to do something about it, we're going to continue to have that problem. It's going to escalate and get worse and worse. Yeah,
self-responsibility is the solution. Not saying, they've been held down and that pressure made them do it. the black kids are not feeling any pressure from being held down. They're feeling pressure maybe from their angry, evil mothers.
I was going to talk to Brenton about that, how he said that they're being held down. Nobody's holding nobody down.
Right.
If they're being held down, how come there's successful blacks in this country and they're not all being held down? Why come some of the blacks are being successful in life? You know, they choose
because
to
it's
be.
spiritual.
They don't choose. They don't choose to be a victim. You can't go around blaming white man for everything.
Kickflip Chris, Galaxy Brain Chris, just reminded me $137 million payout for some elevator operator, black guy, Diaz, whose last name is Diaz, which makes me think that he might be a black Hispanic, who claims that he was subjected to racist epithets every day and told to go back to Africa. He got a $137 million payout ordered from the judge over his lawsuit against Tesla up in Fremont, California. Ridiculous. If anything, they're given too much. And that's worse for them.
We got to quit making excuses for the blacks.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We're making excuses for them, and they're not getting any better that way. They feel more of a victim, and they're not going to try to better themselves. Now, I want us all to better ourselves.
Yeah.
I've had to better myself in life, you know, and because the way I was going wouldn't lead me nowhere but hell and destruction, you know. And then thank God, and it might sound crazy, Hake, but thank God I had that stroke, because it knocked me down and put me where I could see where I was and what I was doing in life.
Yeah.
And give me the opportunity to build myself back up. And I still got a long way to go, not morally, but I do as far as economy-wise, I guess you want to say.
Right.
But you know, it takes that sometimes, and the blacks need to be quit giving everything and let them hit a rock bottom and see that, you know, you got to make that choice to want to do the right thing in life.
Yeah.
You know?
Good point, man. I appreciate that. That's preaching love, Skip. Thank you, man.
All right, well, look here. You have a good day, and I wish I could have talked, though, Brenton, but I don't think it would have done no good.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. People don't change their mind. People aren't open. They're, I think there may be something to what Jonathan from California was saying with the narcissism. Most people are self-absorbed. Very true. Thank you, man.
And I think when William was talking to him, which he was preaching the truth, I think old Brenton got a little bit butthurt on that one.
I don't know.
He's hearing it from a black man or a black perspective, you know, so he couldn't really argue with him. You know, William was telling the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and we need more strong black men out there that's willing to tell the truth.
We need more strong white men telling the truth and standing on it. Then they won't be so willing to just go after us and try to bully us, because that's all they're trying to do. They see whites are a weak target, an easy target, and that's why they're going after us. It's not because they actually believe that we're hateful. It's because they see that we're weak.
You're right about that, but maybe they'll listen more. Maybe they'll listen more to a black man because he looks like them. You know?
It shouldn't be that way. I think that you'll notice that the blacks love calling me. And some of them are hard-headed. I don't think that I've changed any black minds necessarily, but it's the Holy Spirit's work.
It is. It is. You're right.
Cool,
You're
Skip.
right.
It's great to hear from you, man.
Good talking with you, and I'll catch you later, okay?
Sounds good. Take care. Very cool. Quick super chat from Asmodor over there on Odyssey, Odyssee, regarding the guest, Brenton Lengel. The guest is not speaking for himself. I'm sorry I didn't see this, Asmodor. He is parroting the paused, P-O-Z-Z-E-D, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, narrative of government and corporate culture that's been spoon-fed to him. And sadly, he thinks this makes him a rebel. Interesting. I noticed I kept on saying interesting. I felt like that female woman host who interviewed Jesse Lee Peterson, and that went up on the Bond YouTube channel. She called herself Something Beauty. Something Beauty interviews Jesse Lee, and she was this Bible thumper, snotty, snooty, light-skinned black pretty girl who appeared on some YouTube channel that hosts different female hosts, and she interviewed Jesse Lee about his stance on women and forgiving mothers, and the word of God is in you, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, and stuff like that. And she was just snooty, but she kept on telling Jesse, interesting. I reminded myself of that. What a mess. Regarding the craziness of the attack on whites, Chris, Kickflip Chris, Galaxy Brain Chris, Skateboard White, talks about the new, and it's not that new, but it is like at an all-time high, industry for non-whites extorting businesses. And you'll remember back in the 80s and 90s, I will remember anyway, Jesse Jackson in the early 2000s, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all these sleazy, phony, everybody can see through them. I thought everybody could see through these phony black leaders, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. I thought everybody could see that they're just a bunch of phonies crying racism at the drop of a hat when everybody knows that it's not real. I was a kid thinking this way. And yet businesses would cower and cave. Toyota Motors or Toyota Company even gave out a bunch of money. And that was when one of the Jacksons allegedly assaulted Jesse Lee Peterson. And all those blacks crowded around JLP because he was for responsibility, not for the rage of the black rage. Trying to shake down the whites, scam the whites, and scam the blacks too. Suckered blacks who fell for these fake black leaders. And now, to this day, it is a boom. You're saying it's about to boom? It's like they have just, bred like rabbits, multiplied. The racial shakedown stuff has multiplied. It's bigger payouts. Georgia, Florida's so-called family got, $27 million after Mike Brown or Trayvon Martin or whatever. They got like $1 million or $6 million, which is too much. They owe us that much. They owe us. It's through the roof. It is off the charts. And people are more cowards today, the whites, many of them, than ever. $137 million for an operator of an elevator operator. Oh man, from Tesla. That is insane. What's this guy's name? Tesla. Owen Diaz. I got this from the far left female run outlet, The Skim. Yeah, I wish it were just a skit. The Skim with 2 M's. Earlier this week, the gay San Francisco jury, well, I say not morally straight, San Francisco jury ordered the Tesla company, that's Elon Musk, it's huge, it's rich. You see all those people driving those electric vehicles, to pay nearly $137 million to former worker over a discrimination lawsuit. 2015, Owen Diaz, who is black, was contracted as an elevator operator. During this time, Tesla's Fremont plant, Diaz said he was subjected to a racist, hostile work environment. He dealt with daily racial epithets. He probably interacted with the Hispanics, and it was probably Hispanics. Hey, negrito, stuff like that, right? He was told to go back to Africa. Diaz sued, always suing. And Diaz is a Hispanic last name. Am I not right? Now a jury believed this guy awarded him damages. He said a big weight was lifted off his shoulders. And that's ill-gotten gain. I remember a story from Jesse Lee Peterson. He used to people would crash into him, and he would get payouts. And he liked these payouts from these people who would crash into him, get into car accidents with people, right? And apparently it was not his fault. But he liked it. And he would get the payouts, and he would just blow the money. And he would get into another crash. And then later he's like, this is not good. This is not good. And so his spirit stopped inviting that ill-gotten gain. And so he didn't get into any more accidents. Because there's a way to drive defensively and not get in an accident, and it's not your fault. So it just made me think of this, because JLP got those payouts and it wasn't good for him. Ill-gotten gain, right? Ill-gotten gain. Yeah, 137 million is a weight off, all right, says Bomb Jack. Sometimes that money is not good for you. Most of the time. You know what they say about money? Easy come, easy go. Tesla said they're not perfect. They've come a long way from 5 years ago. As if Tesla would really have put up with, and I wish they did, is people saying go back to Africa. Because that's not racist. That's just people having fun or people getting frustrated with, maybe this guy has a chip on his shoulder. Sounds like it. Owen Diaz. I wonder what he looks like. I'm just curious. Should I Google it? Should I look him up? Owen Diaz. Oh, yeah. What a shame. He doesn't even look Hispanic. Google Owen Diaz. D-I-A-Z. Owen. O-W-E-N. And North Carolina. I see this North Carolina picture. Tesla to pay former employee Owen Diaz $137 million for racist abuse suffered at the company. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll get the clip for you tomorrow. Or maybe Nick will. Who knows? Probably beat me to the punch for the JLP show. You can have it. I mean, I kind of want to play it too. But man, ex-Tesla worker speaks out after massive judgment. Awards $137 million. Million racial discrimination suit. Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can. Have you found any pictures of him? If not, I'll drag it into the folder. Oh my gosh. This guy. Owen Diaz. I have to show this to you guys. Okay, I'm dragging it into the folder now. Okay, I just dragged it into the... If it'll transfer, oh, there you go. You found it. Thank you, man. Yeah, him. He got that gold chain. I wonder if that's the $137 million. Man. I just put one more in there if you want to use that too. He's like lecturing. Oh, yeah, they were racist. No, I don't know. We'll see. We'll hear probably tomorrow how he sounds, this guy. Shameful, huh? So evil. You know what else was funny? Ridiculous. Evil. Justin Trudeau, who is the Prime Minister of Canada. Oh, Canada. So-called Prime Minister. I saw this tweet yesterday. I don't know when it came out, but you know how they're kissing up to the Canadian Indians, I call them. I don't think anybody else calls them Canadian Indians. They call them First Nation or Indigenous people or Native Canadian natives. But listen to what he tweeted out. He tweeted out this picture of a front porch with a candle inside of the window around the door frame. Beautiful front porch. I wonder if this is his home, Justin Trudeau's. People across the country are lighting candles to honor, and he spelled it the British way, Indigenous women, girls, and listen to this, 2SLGBTQQIA+. I'm losing my voice. People who are missing or have been murdered. We must continue to work together, raise awareness, and advocate to end this ongoing national tragedy. Hashtag Sisters in Spirit. Have you ever seen this before? This is my first time seeing this. And I'm usually up on this stuff. You know, I say LGBTQIA+, or I say LGBTIQ, because they switched around the IQ. And now it's 2SLGBTQQIA+. So I think 2S is for Two-Spirit, which is an Indian, you know, like the indigenous, so-called indigenous people. That's one of their sexualities. I'm Two-Spirit, or it's a gender or something. Two-Spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, plus. Is A for asexual? I forget. Sick, huh? 2SLGBTQQIA plus. Imagine me just pronouncing it like that. Remember when Trump was like, the LGBTQ people? Yikes. And probably murdered by their own. It's like, oh, blacks are in jail, or blacks are murder victims by their own same people. The heck. Shameful. That's cowardly. Kissing up. Two-Spirit rolls eyes. I have native friends, and they think that is laughable, says Emperor of Cats. Two-Spirit equals hermaphrodite, Hake, says Lin Yen Chin. Oh, really? Well, then that's the same thing as intersex. Because intersex is actually a physical trait like hermaphrodite. Right? That's what I thought. Hake, why are you telling us this? Anyway, it was just shocking. I'd never seen anyone use 2SLGBTQQIA+. How many characters is that? That's too many. It used to be LGB. I remember when it was just LGB. And that was too much. What a terrible shame. So evil. Let me get to Lord Grimm in Washington, D.C. He wants to talk about that teacher who had the so-called gayest classroom. I didn't play that clip, but you may have heard it on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. These evil teachers are coming out as lesbian or bisexual and all that stuff to their underage children, like literal fourth graders, sixth graders, sick stuff. Lord Grimm, how are you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, Hake? How you doing, man?
Doing well, thank you. I didn't realize we're almost over.
All right. So yeah, man. I've seen that clip that Jesse showed and stuff. I think I've seen it a day before. I think you showed it on your show too, right?
I showed some teacher doing something.
Right. So let me just say, man. People need to pay close attention to this type of activity. You know what I mean? Like, because it's what these people do, these evil people, they try to, make it sound so nice and paint it so nice. Oh, I just want to help. And then they try to make it seem like they want to help, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm doing it to help the kids and all that. No, you're trying to indoctrinate the kids.
Exactly.
It's simple as that. You're trying to indoctrinate the kids. And you're not trying to do it in a positive manner like you want to make it seem. It's very, very, very evil.
Yeah.
And sneaky, you know what I mean? Because they know what they're doing. They're trying to attack the kids. I really wish these people would leave kids alone.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was a such thing as stay in a child's place, right?
Yeah.
And the adults used to say that to kids when they would do too much stuff that's a little grown for their age, and they'll say, hey, you need to stay in a child's place. And I used to hate that sometimes as a kid, but then I realized, I respect it because, they wanted me to stay in a child's place, stay where I need to be.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to venture off and be like a so-called adult. And being an adult doesn't mean being, because they try to get the being an adult thing confused. These so-called grown kids, and they think being an adult is being unruly. No, being an adult is having manners, being mature, having respect for your elders and stuff like that. It's not walking around half naked, showing your butt and all that kind of stuff. And then for the guys, it's not walking around with attitudes and you know what I mean. Like these
totally
kids
know.
They have a false awareness of what being a grown person, a grown up is. You know what I mean? It's not what they think it is. We need to leave these kids alone.
Yes.
Let the kids be kids. Leave them alone. I mean, they should just be off limits, man.
I know. It's no wonder that teachers and officials are getting alleged threats, but the DOJ doesn't want to deal with that. They want to only deal with the evil parents, not deal with the evil that is attacking the children. Lord Grimm, man, I gotta end. We are overtime. It's great hearing from you.
Thank you so much. Hey, take care.
All right, you as well. Guys, this is the end of the show. It is Wednesday. Hopefully, we will have a Bond Sunday service archive throwback today, 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be excellent. Make sure you check it out. Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube channel. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. JesseLeePeterson.com for JLP's stuff. Thank you, guys, and take care.
What?